Hello and welcome to episode 16 of That Man and Music Show with me, Tobie Allen, the podcast where we talk to MENA musicians and music industry leaders to find out real life strategies to solve real-time issues within today's music landscape. Before we jump into this week's show, I wanted to let you know that I would love to give all my listeners a free ebook called The Ultimate Resource List for Musicians. I've trawled the web for you so you don't have to, and have researched over 170 websites that help musicians release and promote their music. This ebook will help you scale your fans and multiply your streams by having all the best resources for musicians in one place. You can download your copy at manamusicsign.gr8, that's the number 8.com. Again, that's manamusicsign.gr8.com. I'll also put a link in the show notes for you all. So in this week's show, I sat down with the MENA label manager of Believe Distribution to talk about how Arab and MENA-based musicians can take advantage of their new services in the region. So without further ado, let's dive into the chat. So, Edwin, welcome to the Man and Music Show. Really chuffed to have you on board.
Thank you, Toby. Really happy to be here.
Awesome. So, just to get started with, why don't we just tell those who are listening who you are and what do you do?
My name is Edwin Harb. I work for Believe as a label manager and artist representatives manager, artist relationships manager. So basically, I work with artists on doing their release plans, their release strategies until releasing, and making sure their content is well monetized on all DSPs.
Awesome. Okay, so let's rewind a little bit. Have you always been into music right from an early, back at school?
Yeah. That's a funny story. I got into music basically on the wrong foot. So I started by selling pirated CDs and bootleg CDs to my friends and schoolmates. That was back when I was 11 years old. And after that, I started regretting that decision and trying to make up for what I've done. And started working with artists as soon as I graduated from high school. I guess started working as producing shows, promoting artists, doing some concerts. Then started managing more artists until now. I got more into the digital distribution side, which I guess now can actually and effectively make up for all the pirated CDs I sold.
You got into the music business quite early. Was that because you didn't play an instrument very well, like me?
That's absolutely true.
I actually got kicked off the orchestra at school for being out of beat as a drummer. And the irony of all that is obviously I had a career of, being a DJ for over 20 years. Yeah. Recorder level 2, I think, and violin level 1 or whatever. I wasn't very good with the actual instruments. And I took a different path. Does that sound about right?
That's absolutely true. I started playing dirbak or tabla when I was also maybe 9 years old. But I never became I didn't have the talent for it, honestly. So I decided to go backstage and start managing music.
Excellent. You're from Beirut?
Yeah, I'm from Lebanon, outside of Beirut, called a very small village called Yammoune in the Bekaa Valley. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How's the Lebanese music scene as a whole in your eyes?
Today or
yes, today.
Today it's pretty much non-existent. When it comes to the Beirut local music scene, that is the alternative music scene, it's unfortunately non-existent now because of the lockdown, which I guess was the case in a lot of other countries as well. But it really affected the scene here because it was mostly based on live shows and live concerts.
I was going to say, is there much of a community for anything else happening online, or are people, you know, is it literally, it was just a live scene? So unfortunately, because of that, khalas, it's...
Yeah, I think at the beginning of the lockdown, I saw a couple of like digital festivals happening. A lot of the electronic music kind of promoters got into doing live sessions or live sets, which was really good. And honestly, like it did help kind of like keep the scene together a little bit. But we didn't see any of this for anything other than electronic mostly. So you wouldn't see like any bands performing or doing live sessions, which was really unfortunate.
If you look at the MENA scene as a whole, from your eyes, from where you work, how do you see the MENA music industry in comparison? Where does it lie compared to the rest of the world, do you think?
I think we're still at a very early stage now. We're still kind of shaping the infrastructure of the industry. And it's very interesting. It's very exciting to be part of this at the moment, like to be actually like shaping and seeing the industry take the shape. So not so long ago, maybe, that when it comes to digital distribution, at least, that there was anything that we can call digital distribution, you know, like Anghami was present, or I guess they started in 2012 and didn't really become a big player in the region until 2013, 2014. And just in like 2016 or 2017 and 18 that Deezer and Spotify started getting more into the region, which is very, very, very not so long ago, you know, like still very early. So I think we're still kind of figuring out how the model should be for to properly monetize and to properly assist artists and serve artists in the way they should be served.
Do you reckon the regional artists have the same standing or the same chances as global artists?
Yes, why not? Like it actually depends on what kind of music they're making or what kind of the music they're producing. But yeah, there's definitely a chance. Like I always say that, especially nowadays, like there was this whole like Latin kind of reggaeton happening with the whole English fusion. And then now I guess like it's starting to go more into like Arabic and English fusion, which is really cool. And we've seen like Drake drop a few Arabic lyrics in his track and stuff. So I think there's definitely, like, we're getting there. And Isam al-Najjar, his Hadala Habbak track, or something like that. I forgot the name. I'm bad with names, but yeah, like the one, it went viral on TikTok, and it's literally just like Arabic lyrics with him singing.
So do you think an Arab artist, if they're singing in Arabic, can be recognized or make it, so to speak, outside the region? Or do you think you have to be singing in English?
No, I think I'm really confident it can happen. Especially like the lockdown did have a positive impact on this. Like it helped drive listeners to expand what they're listening to, you know, to discover new artists and new genres. So I think we're definitely close to having an Arabic artist break globally singing in Arabic.
Okay, so let's go to your role as label manager at Believe. How did you get that, by the way? Did you get pinched from somewhere? Or you just did an interview?
No, I actually just applied on LinkedIn, and it was at the time where I was getting more into digital distribution, honestly. and like growing an interest into digital distribution. So I saw that I heard actually that Believe were expanding into the region, and then I started seeing some positions popping up on LinkedIn until I saw this label management position, and I applied for it, and I got it, and I'm really learning something new every day in digital distribution, and it's quite like super interesting.
So firstly, LinkedIn does work.
Yeah, it does.
Anyway, for all those that keep thinking that it doesn't. So what do you actually do for artists in the Middle East? That would be a good start there.
So first, we map out the opportunities. We map out what are the trends in the region. What kind of artists do we want to work with? Of course, with we have by staying aligned basically to the global vision of Believe and serving independent artists and labels. So starting off from this point, we map out what are the types of artists that we want to work with, and we start reaching out to these artists to kind of like build this network and start educating these artists on what digital distribution is, what they should be looking at in agreements and deals, and if they're interested in digital distribution, or if they prefer doing it DIY, like using TuneCore, DistroKid, or other platforms, or if they're looking for a label deal, then that's also something that we can advise on. But at the end of Sorry.
Yeah, I was going to just quickly say, let's quickly just dive into that quickly. So if someone was just listening to this podcast and they didn't quite understand those three variations of distribution, so they could DIY, they could come to you, or they could go to a full label deal. Could you just quickly outline what those three those three are?
Okay, of course. Yeah. So when it comes to let's go back to a bit to what digital distribution is it's making sure your music is available on digital streaming platforms, basically. So putting your music on these streaming platforms. So what a distributor does is take this music, does whatever is needed, and then puts it on these streaming platforms to be able to then monetize them and make sure they reach the maximum potential of listeners. So a digital distributor can be either a DIY digital distributor, which is like TuneCore, DistroKid, CD Baby, that are just like websites or platforms where you can go upload your music, select a certain package, select to which stores you want to send your music to, and then deliver that. You don't really have someone that's advising you on the right strategy or that's supporting you when it comes to like technical support or content management. On the other hand, you have digital distributors that offer digital distribution services and what we also call like label services that are somewhat like help you with pitching your music on DSPs to the editors of the DSPs so they can consider your music for playlists and for banners and for other promo opportunities. We have a content management team that validates your content, that polishes it, and then puts it on platforms so they optimize the whole algorithm of the reach of the song. And we have other like technical support services, and the services kind of like that support you and advise you on the right release strategy. And then you have the labels that are that usually would produce or co-produce the music with you, with the artist, and then distribute it on the digital streaming platforms. So it really depends on what the artist is looking for.
Okay, I've made two notes there, which is great explanation. So thank you. Strategies. Okay, let's first of all go to content management. You said content management, and it makes what does that entail? You said makes it more deliverable, more optimized. To someone that wouldn't understand what that looks like metadata wise, could you put that in simple terms?
Absolutely. So every piece of content or every song or every track that you find on a digital streaming platform has metadata built in it. So this metadata holds information about the track, holds information about the song, about the artist, and this metadata helps kind of like trigger the algorithm of the DSPs of the actual store, which then helps the track get more playlists, get more reach, have better search indexing, etc.
So when you upload your music and you get a digit wrong, a number wrong, or some small bit of information wrong, that could have a detrimental effect to how your track gets picked up on any playlists or any growth.
Absolutely. It might also just send your track into a different profile or drop it under the latest releases. So it might not also show properly when it comes to a normal user that's just looking at your profile.
Is that common?
Very common in the region. Yeah, because of like a lot of artists in the region have Arabic names. And the Arabic names, when translated into Latin letters, this causes a lot of problems.
Yeah, I was going to say, how do you handle the that issue? Because that happens a lot. You know, does a track that has Arabic and English in it, just like Feluca, does it go into an Arabic playlist? Does it go into an English playlist? Are there, those problems surely will arise, and especially if Arabic is spelt wrong. It's going to read something completely different in Arabic, and you're able to, as your service, because you're in the region, you understand that, and you're able to sort that out immediately. Okay,
exactly.
Fantastic.
We have Arabic-speaking content managers that do this for you, and that actually fill in the information that's needed for this specific reason.
Awesome. Okay, so now strategies. You say about strategies. What does a strategy look like from your eyes for an artist? Say if there was two different strategies that, as a label distributor, what did they look like? For example?
Okay, so at first we would look at the artist's profile and what they're trying to achieve. So is it growth? Is it brand awareness? Is it when I say brand awareness, it's like the artist's brand awareness, or is it like making sure you have a positioning basically in the market? So depending on the level of the artist and what they're trying to achieve, we try to build a strategy that is aligned with their need.
Do this any of these strategies, the difference in the Arab or MENA region, or SWANA now I've just learned, SWANA region, compared to what would happen in the States or a Western market?
Absolutely. We're trying at least to have something that's kind of standardized between all the markets. There's definitely sometimes some things that do differ and do change, but we're trying to adapt and basically put a standard for all of these things.
Okay. What could you advise an artist who is sitting, listening to this and thinking, I would like to get my music onto DSP? What would you advise they do? What do they need as an artist to be ready for market?
Okay, I really think they should be at least aware of what digital distribution is, research what digital distribution is, because there's a lot of different distributors and a lot of different kind of services. So really figure out what are the kinds of services that you're looking for, and then based on that, reach out to the digital distributor that you feel more connected to or more associated with. I'm sure Tobie is gonna drop my email or my contact details or anything somewhere down there, but feel free to reach out to Believe for any advice as well. It's basically just making sure that the services are the correct services for you, and then having a plan that can support the digital distribution strategy, because a digital distribution strategy without the artist supporting it through their own networks and their own socials wouldn't really be very effective. So have a plan and we'll help support it.
Would I be correct in adding to that to have the music the best it can be?
Oh, absolutely.
Have a brand and have a story. So those are the three foundations, plus with your plan, and then to understand that it was a two-way thing. It's not a one-way transaction. And we've had many conversations with the DSPs, and the same, I'm surely, with you as a distributor, that the DSPs know when they're not being supported back, when the artist is just sitting back. They recognize, the DSPs look at the artist that they're supporting, or do posts or shares or do some marketing spend on. And if you're not responding to that and giving back to Apple, because they're a business as well, they need to get support and they need to get the shares and the likes and things. So I think artists definitely really need to understand that it's a two-way transaction.
Of course.
And those that don't, they notice, because we've had these conversations.
Yeah.
So having the music, having a brand, having a story, having plan, and understanding it's a two-way thing. That would be quite a good package for any artist to move forward. Would that be right?
Absolutely. I think we can make it into a checklist. Like this is exactly what they need to have.
Excellent. So where do you see artists? Where are they coming from in this region? Where are you looking at? What's tickling your fancy at the moment? I hear Iraq is some great music is coming out of Iraq at the moment.
Absolutely. Iraq, Palestine, hip-hop, Palestinian hip-hop is on fire. Iraq, definitely. There's a very nice scene coming out of the UAE now, like a hip-hop, English hip-hop kind of pop scene from the UAE. KSA is doing a lot of we've been seeing a lot of production coming out of the KSA in terms of electronic music, so that's also very interesting. I guess the region all in all is like doing amazing things. Like the Maghreb, the North African hip hop scene is amazing.
I was just about to say, I don't think I can use this word because I'm too old and probably not cool enough. But I think like places like Sudan and some of the hip hop, as you say, North Africa is popping. I heard, there's some great stuff going around, and I'm, Clubhouse first of all. Just I've been networking and talking to so many new artists and getting to understand how much, even more. I thought I knew there was talent in this region, but there is so much. Going around at the moment. Egypt's on fire, as you said, the Saudi stuff, Palestine. It's really going out there. Anyone for you anyone to watch out for that you've noticed?
Yes, I would say I'm a little biased, honestly, but I would have to say check out Blue Pfeiffer, check out El Ras. Check out Lai. Three artists: Lai, Ras, and Blue Pfeiffer. These are coming out from Lebanon. Blue Pfeiffer is, I would say, the first hip hop producer, female hip hop producer in the region. Hopefully we'll see some more productions from her, but I've been listening to some of her unreleased stuff and it's fucking great. Ross has been doing some amazing hip hop for years and is now preparing 2 new albums. And Lai is a new artist that just released actually her first single a couple of months ago and is releasing her next one in a couple of days.
Awesome. Regarding your role, I wanted to ask this earlier, but so how do you continue to learn in order to stay on top of things within your role? How do you keep on top of what we say, finger on the pulse?
Yeah. I try to read a lot, any news, any publications related to music business or entertainment news. I usually try to network a lot and go to conferences a lot, but with the situation, we've not been able to do that. So podcasts help a lot by staying up to date. And just some general content and reading about what's happening.
Awesome. What's the biggest failure you've had And why do you think that happened? And did you learn from it? Tricky one.
That's a tough question.
Tricky one, yeah.
Work failure, I would assume.
Yeah.
The biggest failure, I would say, it's not quite a failure, but it was a challenge. I was working with a band a few years ago, managing, I'm like part of the management team, and we had a bit of an issue on a radio show where one of the band members said something that shouldn't have been said. So we basically had a lot of like death threats and general threats coming coming our way. So it was a challenge, basically trying to manage this.
But that's where media training comes in. I was on the podcast with Poona Verma about do artists need media training? And I think it's very, especially in this region, you can accidentally say something and things can get a little bit interesting.
Absolutely.
Okay, so just rounding up a couple, what's the biggest area you're curious about and why, like moving forward within your role or musical distribution in this region?
Area in terms of like territory or in terms of
something like is AI coming in, blockchain, anything?
Oh, absolutely.
Anything interesting there that tickles you?
I guess AI and data analytics mostly, because it's definitely gonna help change the way music is monetized online and how artists make money online.
Do you think that artists can make money here?
Yes. There's a way. There's definitely a way. I definitely don't think the revenue model that is being applied at the moment is very effective, but there's definitely a way for artists to make more money online. Like, I'm not sure if you saw the news about SoundCloud. They just started. Yeah. So that's one of the models that might work. I guess we'll have to see.
Also, the good news that there is a collecting society for the Gulf region that's been started, which obviously will come to light very soon. Okay, just rounding up, any final tips that you would give any aspiring musicians?
Do your research and Just basically do your research.
Okay, fair enough. Where can people find you, Edwin? It's been a pleasure having you on. Really insightful, just on the distribution side of things. Where can they find you to get hold of you? Any of your social handles? Yes,
you can definitely follow me or drop a DM on my Instagram. It's Edwin EDWIN.Harb HARB. Or for any like distribution kind of related questions, you can drop me an email on edwin.harb as well at believe.com.
Edwin, it's been an absolute pleasure. I really value your time and thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Tobie.
That's all for today's episode of the MENA Music Show. Thank you for listening, and I hope you got a lot of valuable information from it. If you liked this episode, then please make sure you subscribe to the show on iTunes, and if you could leave a review, it really helps with the growth of the podcast. Lastly, if you're a musician or music producer and want to join the region's thriving online music community and learning hub, then head on over to our Lab Musica Facebook page. Until next time, take care, keep safe.